I want to talk about Max first, because Max was really interesting in that he's this huge Clydesdale. So he probably weighs 1,500, 1,800 pounds. He's just a big mush. But
I fell madly in love with him.
Well, he usually has a really big mustache. His mustache.
Yeah, Gwen had trimmed his little mustache.
Yeah, she trimmed it. So he usually has a really nice handlebar. But he was so lame out in the field. He was literally hopping on 3 legs. And Gwen lives next door, but she's very busy. So we've been feeding her horses. And I said, Gwen, there's something is going on with Max. And then the farrier was there. And I said, can you look at Max? And so he did hoof testers on him. And he said, he's just kind of sore all over. And he said, I don't know if he's just getting stone bruises out in the field or what's going on. So I started giving him Banamine, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, very popular in the horse world. It's used occasionally in the dog world, but not very much.
Is there like an equivalent human, like with?
It would be like taking aspirin or Advil. Tylenol is not really it's kind of like Rimadyl for dogs. I mean, it's kind of one of the, can be very nasty, but most animals handle it fine, but then you get these ones that don't. So I had given it to him for maybe a week, and it was really helping. He was doing better. And if I'd miss a dose, he'd be just as lame again. So then one day I went out in the barn, and his whole underneath of his belly was swollen. You could just tell he had all this fluid, and his sheath was so swollen that he couldn't pee. And at that point I was like, Gwen,
and I like walk in and I'm like, oh my God, how do you see all of this? I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, see this and that and whatever.
This is not normal. Right. So we got the horse vet to come out that same day, and he looked at him and he said, this is a dead animal. This horse is not going to survive. His protein levels are really low. Basically what we did is we destroyed his gut, and he got leaky gut so bad that he was leaking all of his protein. And so when they start doing that, they can't hold the fluid in the blood vessels anymore. And he said, I'm going to get blood work on him. He took x-rays, and he was foundering, and actually in his right front where he was so lame, a huge chunk of his frog, which is the bottom of the foot, the soft part, the shock absorber, had disintegrated and fallen off. So literally bone was sticking through the bottom of his hoof, and that's why he was so painful. So we wrapped his foot, and then he said, well, he can't take any more Banamine. He clearly has a bad reaction to it, just like a dog who would have a bad reaction to Rimadyl, or a cat who has a bad reaction to Onsior.
How do you know they're having a bad reaction? Like if someone is using Rimadyl, like is it something you see right away?
It's almost always going to be a gut problem, but it also could be a kidney or liver problem. But the first things to watch for: decreased appetite, change in the stool consistency, any vomiting, dark tarry stools, like anything like that, you need to stop the medication immediately and report that. So the vet, basically and Angela was there when he came, and he basically left the barn saying, this horse is going to die. I don't think there's anything we can do. And Gwen and Angela and I just looked at each other and said, oh, we can do something. So, and we actually have a video that'll be coming out very soon with Max's story and, with his lab work and everything. But so we started it, and of course Angela was there in her RV in our driveway, which was very good timing.
We almost didn't leave. It was a very nice setup.
So nice. Angela comes running out of the RV with, okay, I've got the CBD, and I've got the adaptogens, I've got the mushroom products, and Gwen and I are at the warehouse going, okay, well, we've got Gut Soothe, and we've got colostrum, and we had the PEA, and so we basically made this and a really good Adored Beast probiotic. So we basically made this cocktail of all these different things and started throwing him at him. So he went from having 15 acres to roam around to being in this little stall, which is pretty funny.
Which I think he loved.
Kind of, but he's so huge, and our fences are made for minis. So,
he would put his head over the stall.
He just looked kind of funny in there.
And the mini horse would kick up at him.
Yeah. But the vet came back 10 days later and said, I can't even believe this horse is still alive.
I didn't know this part.
Did his lab work, and he said, oh my gosh, his lab work looks better. And he wasn't lame.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So then
I didn't know that part. I did know, I asked him, I asked you guys, are you okay if I give him the horse heel? Of course, you're like, yeah, as much as you want. Max loved it, and it was
he would lick it out of her hand.
And the vet saw it and was like, what is that? He's loving that. And I'm like, like, it's hemp. And he's like, you can give them all you want.
Here, have a bottle.
Thank goodness. I thought I was going to get a, what is that? What does it have in it? No, don't give him that.
Well,
so
and
was he impressed?
Our horse vet actually happens to be one of my classmates from University of Illinois from 1984. So small world. He was very happy with everything that had happened. And then Gwen put him back out in the field.
I saw that.
Well, and he was doing great, but then she got lazy and she wasn't coming and making up his bowls with all of his stuff. And so she kind of took him off stuff. And so I texted her one morning. I said, your horse is three-legged lame out in the field again. She's like, oh, poo. So she came and she made his bowl with all of his stuff. The next, we were away, we left. The next morning she texted me a video of him trotting across the field. And she said, is this the same horse that was three-legged lame yesterday?
So what you're telling us, Dr. Judy, is that we can control awful pain
with
naturally.
All natural.
Okay, so what are your favorites?
Well, so then we've got my little cancer dog, George, who happens to be taking the CBD horse heel in small amounts, but it's much stronger, so I can give him a little tiny bit.
You can give him more.
Yeah, I don't want to make him. I don't want to make him too high.
I think he'll like it.
He doesn't like the taste of it, but he's such a good boy. He's like, fine, whatever.
Right.
And then the Vitality, which I absolutely adore, but I do have him on some extra turkey tail on top of that. He's on some real mushrooms on top of that. Because in my little world, when you've got an animal with cancer, you cannot have too many mushrooms.
I agree, and I did the same thing. I would use powdered real mushrooms, powdered mushrooms in the food as a functional medicine, functional food to feed that gut and whatever. And then my tinctures, my tonics,
and that's
as
exactly
the medicine.
what we're doing. So he's been doing really, really, really well.